Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today we are doing quarter 3 TBR jar. If you are not new here, you'll know that every quarter I do a TBR jar, and I started this last year and I absolutely love doing it. So today we are reviewing the books or giving my stars out of 5 for the quarter 2 TBR, and then we're using my TBR jar to choose quarter 3's reads. So let's get started. Before getting to that, don't forget, if you like what you see, to subscribe to this channel. Your continued support means a lot, so thank you guys so much. For quarter 2 we have a book club read, a Terry Pratchett read, and then 3 books from the TBR jar. The Terry Pratchett read was Wintersmith, which is the 3rd book in the Tiffany Aiken series. I have done a video of the different orders to read the Discworld series. If you haven't seen that, that link's above me now. That was a hard video to film and research. But Wintersmith, there will be a review coming out of this one, but I gave this 4.5 stars out of 5. The next book was the book club book, which I've put a picture up here because I've already sold it. I gotta stop doing this. You might have seen in some other videos I've been doing a deep clean declutter of our house, which obviously includes the books, and that means that I'm kind of being very on it of when there's a book I finished and I don't want to reread it or anything, then I give it away, I give it to charity, I give it to friends, or I sell it on World of Books or on eBay. And normally I take my time on that, but because I've been reading a lot of books recently that are ones that I'm not going to keep, they've just been going bye-bye. So oops, this one here, there will not be a review of this one coming out. For this one, I enjoyed the gender role swap in the book, but, and I think this is sort of unfair to the book in one regard, I'm currently reading the C.J. Sampson books, the Shardlake series, which are Tudor England murder mysteries, and I kind of compared The Lost Diary of Samuel Pepys by Jack Dewars to those, which is kind of unfair because it is a debut novel, whereas C.J. Sampson's, it's not a debut for Shardlake. But because I was comparing it to that, I do prefer the Shardlake series, so I gave it 3 stars out of 5, which is still good stars. It's just, it didn't grip me as much. I sort of felt that the time period kept changing in my mind, whereas C.J. Sampson's, you know, you're definitely in Tudor England. But for Samuel Pepys, I kept thinking it was Victorian England. Like, there wasn't enough world building to keep me in that era. Next up are my 3 TBR jar picks, and the first one was The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. This is a book that was on my must read for this year, which I did in my New Year book tag. That link's above me now if you haven't seen it. There will be a review of this coming out, and I gave this 3.25 stars out of 5. We then had The Wren Hunt by Mary Watson. This one I'm not going to do a review of. It is a debut novel, and it sort of lacked world building for me, especially in terms of the magic system. It sort of promised quite a lot, but didn't give enough. It is a very fast, easy read though, but it sort of felt like the introduction to a book, and it is part of a series, but it's not a series I'm going to continue. This is also one that was on my must read this year from my New Year's book tag. Also, and if you haven't seen my TBR jar quarter 2, I'll pop a link above. One of the prompts I got was a African author, and I had to choose a different prompt because I couldn't find anyone on my shelf. This person they are from Cape Town. So this one could have counted for that. But anyway, this one, there is not going to be a book review, but I gave it 2.75 stars out of 5. And then the final book from quarter 2 TBR was Never Ever After by Sue Lynn Tan. There will be a book review coming out of this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it did feel a lot more similar to Daughter of the Moon Goddess. It's sort of Sue Lynn Tan's last book, Immortals, I was really not that fond of. This one I did enjoy a lot more. I gave it, and I'm still and ahhing, it's either a 3.75 or a 4-star read, and I'm kind of stuck on which one to go with on this one. I think that means I should do the 3.75 stars. I should go down, not up, but there will be a book review of this one. And that's it for the reviews from my quarter 2 TBR. So now we're going to get on to my quarter 3 picks. As always, we will have one Terry Pratchett, one book club read, and then 3 prompts from the TBR jar, which I'm always really excited for. There are still, I think, I still have one book which is on my must read for this year, and I haven't even started the trilogy I need to read for this year from the New Year's book tag, so I'm at least hoping to get that last standalone book on this TBR, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to start with the Terry Pratchett book for this quarter, which is Making Money. This is the second book in the Moist von Lipwig or the Industrial Revolution series. I'm happy to. It's been a little gap actually since I've read a Pratchett. I've been reading a lot of the Shard Lake series because I've been borrowing those from a friend from my book club. So I've been reading a lot of that and also trying to get through a lot of the books that are on my must read for this year. So I'm happy to be returning to a Pratchett this quarter. Let me read you guys a blurb for this one. It's an offer you can't refuse. Who would not wish to be the man in charge of Ankh-Morpork's Royal Mint and the bank next door? It's a job for life, but as former conman Moist von Lipwig is learning, life is not necessarily for long. The chief cashier is almost certainly a vampire. There's something nameless in the cellar, and the cellar itself is pretty nameless. And it turns out that the Royal Mint runs at a loss. A 300-year-old wizard is after his girlfriend. He's about to be exposed as a fraud, but the Assassin's Guild might get him first. In fact, a lot of people want him dead. Oh, and every day he has to take the chairman for walkies. Everywhere he looks, he's making enemies. What he should be doing is making money. And on the back it says Terry Pratchett is a comic genius, and the Sunday Times offers more comic inventiveness and originality than most other novels of the year, and more fun. Oh, it also has one on the front from the Times, as bright and shiny as a newly minted coin, clever, engaging, and laugh out loud funny. And it's got a dog on the cover. Look at that dog. Oh, it's got a little nose. Sorry. So I guess that dog is the chairman. I'm very excited for that. The book club read, I'm going to have to go get my phone, which you know I hate doing. But the book club book is on order at my local independent bookshop, so I haven't got it yet. So I'm going to have to get the blurb up for you on my phone. I'll be back. The book club read for this quarter is up here. It is The Push by Ashley Audrain. Let me read you guys the blurb for this one. Blythe Connor is determined that she will be the warm, comforting mother to her new baby Violet that she herself never had. But in the thick of motherhood's exhausting early days, Blythe becomes convinced that something is wrong with her daughter. She doesn't behave like most children do. Or is it all in Blythe's head? Her husband Fox says she's imagining things. The more Fox dismisses her fears, the more Blythe begins to question her own sanity, and the more we begin to question what Blythe is telling us about her life as well. Then their son Sam is born, and with him, Blythe has the blissful connection she'd always imagined with her child. Even Violet seems to love her little brother. But when life as they know it is changed in an instant, the devastating fallout forces Blythe to face the truth. The Push is a tour de force you will read in a sitting, an utterly immersive novel that will challenge everything you think you know about motherhood, about what we owe our children, and what it feels like when women are not believed. And it says at the top, a tense, page-turning psychological drama about the making and breaking of a family, and a woman whose experience of motherhood is nothing at all what she hoped for and everything she feared. Very different read to what I personally would normally choose, but that's what book clubs are all about. Alright, it's time for my favourite part of these videos, the TBR jar. Okay. I get really scared and also excited. I'm gonna dig. Right. The first prompt for quarter 3 TBR jar is a book under 300 words. Oh, I have a book for another video that is under 300 words, but I don't think I can use that. I think that's cheating. Under 300 words. Ooh. I'll be back. I've just realised I've been saying under 300 words. I mean pages. Under 300 pages. Alright. I have chosen 3 books for this prompt that I can pick between, and I think all of them are classics. So we have The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. We have The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And we have Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats by T.S. Eliot. The longest in this is Dorian Gray, which is just under 200 pages, but also quite a small font. Followed by the Hemingway, which is like just over 100 pages, and then this one has pictures, so it's absolutely tiny. I am planning to read quite a few big books recently. I mean, the Shard Lake series ones are very chunky. I'm going to go The Picture of Dorian Gray. I know it's a shock I haven't read this yet. I've watched the film and I absolutely adored the film. Matt has read this once or twice now, I believe. Because I love the film so much, I should read this. So we're going to go with The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Because it's so famous, I forgot to read you guys the blurb for Dorian Gray. Does it even have a blurb? Yes, okay. Here's the blurb. Dorian is a good-natured young man until he discovers the power of his own exceptional beauty. As he gradually sinks deep into a frivolous, glamorous world of selfish luxury, he apparently remains physically unchanged by the stresses of his corrupt lifestyle and untouched by age. But up in his attic, hidden behind a curtain, his portrait tells a different story. Then we have a review from The Guardian. In The Picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde set the gold standard for chroniclers of decadence. And Sarah Waters says, a heady late Victorian tale of double living. Alright, prompt 2. The second prompt, read a classic. Do you know when you just feel like you know this is going to happen? For this, I'm actually going to grab a book from upstairs, because I believe it is upstairs. I think I know one that I really do fancy reading. I'll be back. Okay, so for the classic, I'm going to read Alice in Wonderland. Now, by Lewis Carroll. I do actually have 2 copies of this. This one also includes Through the Looking Glass, which is the second, whereas this one is just the standard copy. So I might read this version, but I don't know. This is one I bought. This has been Matt's one. So we'll see which version I read, but I'll read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Let me read you guys the blurb. A timeless adventure of fantasy and nonsense. Alice lives in an ordinary life until the day she follows the white rabbit down, down, down a rabbit hole. She suddenly finds herself in an enchanted world, surrounded by zany creatures like the Mad Hatter, the Duchess, and the Cheshire Cat. Alice is delighted to find that nothing in Wonderland is the least bit ordinary. I know that if I read this one, I will end up reading Through the Looking Glass as well, but that's not a bad thing if I do that. This also has a lot of information about the books as well, so between these 2 copies, but my second choice for a classic is Alice in Wonderland. I knew it. I got read a classic and a book under so many pages. Okay, the last prompt. I'm actually scared I'm not going to get... There were 2... Actually, I know I said 1 book, but there's actually 2 books I wanted on this TBR. I wanted a really big chunky one, and I wanted the last one in my must-read. That's the point of the TBR jar. A translated book. This one I have 2 books to choose from. I have Strange Pictures by Uketsu, which is a book I got in the Christmas secret book Santa that we did at our book club. Or I have Butter by Asako Yuzuki, which is a borrowed book from Matt's dad. This one is a chunker. This one is smaller, but this one is borrowed, so I am kind of leaning towards this one because I should return it to him, and I know he absolutely loved it, but I am actually quite scared of this one because it is so big. We'll go on this one. What the hell? This is actually quite a challenging one. Okay. I'm going to read Butter by Asako Yuzuki. I'll read you guys the blurb for this one when I can find it. Gourmet cook Manako Kaji sits in Tokyo detention house convicted of the serial murders of lonely businessmen who she is said to have seduced with her delicious home cooking. The case has captured the nation's imagination, but Kaji refuses to speak with the press. That is until journalist Rika Machida writes a letter asking for her recipe for beef stew, and Kaji can't resist writing back. Rika, the only woman in her news office, works late each night, rarely cooking more than ramen. As the visits unfold between her and Kaji, they seem closer to a masterclass in food than journalistic research. Rika hopes this gastronomic exchange will help soften the steely Kaji, but it seems that Rika might be the one changing. With each meal she eats, something is awakening in her body. Might she and Kaji have more in common than she once thought? A runaway international bestseller inspired by the real case of the con woman known as the Konkatsu Killer, Asako Yuzuki's Butter, translated by Polly Barton, is a vivid, unsettling exploration of misogyny, obsession, romance, and the transgressive pleasures of food in Japan. Oh, that last sentence, I understand that, because Japanese food is absolutely delicious. And it does have a lot of reviews on the back. Pandora Sykes, author of How Do We Know We're Doing It Right, says compelling, delightfully weird, often uncomfortable, and with fascinating insight into Japanese culture, mores, and food. Butter will churn your brain and your stomach with panache. Erin Kelly, author of The Skeleton Key, says an unputdownable, breathtakingly original novel about true crime, loneliness, and female appetite in all its tricky, transgressive glory. I will be spoon-feeding butter to every woman I know. Ryo Asai, author of The Kirishima Thing, writing masterful enough that you gulp it down breathlessly, a tour de force that will leave readers satisfied. Imogen Crimp, author of A Very Nice Girl, Yuzuki uses luscious food and writing to fuel a nuanced and intelligent exploration of contemporary womanhood. I devoured this dark and delicious novel. Fujin Korin, a reading experience so rich it was like being swathed in melted butter. Croissant Magazine, a tale of loneliness and desire. Even descriptions like a perfect masterpiece and creme de la creme are inadequate for a book like this. Alice Slater, author of Death of a Bookseller, a delectable meditation on appetite, fat phobia, and misogyny in contemporary Japan. Butter is a salty morsel with one hell of a bite. ID Magazine, inspired by a true story, food, gender, and violence are explored in this delicious novel. And finally, it says on the bottom there are two things that I simply cannot tolerate: feminists and margarine. Okay, right. Well, those are my 3 TBR picks: the Terry Pratchett read and the book club read for the third quarter. And I must say, apart from the very easy Making Money by Terry Pratchett, this is actually a challenging quarter for me. I think this is the most challenging I've had, because the book club book is definitely not a book I would ever pick up to read. And then we have 2 classics, which, although they're classics I have been wanting to read, they're still classics. They can be harder just because they've aged. And then a very hefty Japanese murder mystery. Now, I've read a lot of translated literature, but I've never read a Japanese murder mystery, and I hadn't actually realised this was a murder mystery. So it might be easier to read than I initially thought when Dave lent me it and said I had to read it. But wow, that put me through the ringers. Okay, so for a Terry Pratchett read, to recap, we have Making Money. The book club read is The Push. For a book under 300 pages, we have The Picture of Dorian Gray. For a classic, we have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And for a translated book, we have Butter. Okay. I didn't get the must-read that I wanted to get on this TBR in, but that's okay. I've still got another quarter, and the likelihood is I'm probably going to read it outside of these TBR picks anyway. I am actually a little bit scared of this one. And that's it for this quarter 3 TBR jar picks. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed what you see. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr. I post my bookish pictures as well as my tips and unboxings on there. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Well, that worked well.